They thought Jack was finished. They mistook his silence for defeat. But they didn't realize silence is not surrender. Silence is the storm before the thunder. There comes a point in every person's life when words don't matter anymore. Explanations, defenses, arguments, they fall on deaf ears. And the more you speak, the weaker you look. That's when you learn the truth. Silence is not emptiness. It's discipline. It's patience. It's the foundation of power. What happens to a man who chooses silence, who refuses to waste another breath on people who never listened? The answer doesn't come in the beginning, because silence feels like nothing at first. It feels like loneliness, like being forgotten. But stay with me, because what Jack discovered in his silence is the very thing that turned his life into a weapon. And here's the part they never tell you. Silence terrifies people more than rage ever could. Rage is predictable. But silence makes them wonder what you're building, what you're planning, what you're becoming. Stick with this story. By the end, you'll understand why Jack's silence became the most powerful sound in the world. Jack wasn't always silent. He was the kind of man who wore his heart on his sleeve. He argued, he defended himself, he begged people to understand him. He poured his loyalty into others only to be left with betrayal dripping through his hands like blood. Every time he raised his voice, nobody listened. Every time he explained, they twisted his words. Every time he fought, they mocked him for trying. Until one day, after the deepest betrayal of his life, Jack realized his words had no value to people who wanted him broken. His voice was wasted on ears that only wanted noise. So he stopped speaking, not because he had nothing left to say, but because silence became his new weapon. At first, silence felt like death. The nights were the worst. He wanted to call, to text, to argue one last time, to prove himself. But instead, Jack forced himself to sit in the silence, to let the pain echo, to let the quiet consume him. And that's where the transformation began, because silence isn't empty. It's full of the answers you can't hear when you're drowning in noise. For the first time, Jack heard himself again, his real voice, the one he had buried beneath all the shouting and begging. In that quiet, he realized how much energy he had wasted trying to convince people who had already decided to misunderstand him. And in that silence, he started to rebuild, day after day, in secret. No declarations, no announcements, no desperate need for validation, just silent work, silent discipline, silent growth. The world thought Jack had disappeared. They thought they'd buried him under lies, rejection, betrayal. But he wasn't gone. He was sharpening himself in the shadows. Silence became his crucible. Jack trained harder than ever before. Every morning before sunrise, he pushed his body until it broke, then pushed again. Every night he studied, he built, he refined himself. The world slept. Jack worked. The world laughed. Jack planned. The world spoke. Jack listened. Because silence is not passive. Silence is active. It is observing. It is calculating. It is preparing. The people who betrayed him kept talking. They mocked him. They told others he was finished. And Jack said nothing, not a word, because silence buys something. Noise never can. Time. And Jack used his time like a weapon. Weeks turned into months, months into years, and then, one day, Jack stepped back into the world. He didn't need to announce it. His presence spoke louder than his voice ever could. When Jack entered a room, the air shifted. People felt it. They couldn't explain why, but they knew they weren't looking at the same man they once mocked. Jack's silence carried weight now. The first time an old enemy tried to provoke him, Jack didn't react. He just stared. No anger, no defense, no explanation, just a cold, unshaken silence. And that silence, it was worse than any threat he could have spoken. Because when someone doesn't react, you start to wonder what they're capable of. Silence makes people fill in the blanks with their own fear. And Jack knew it. He no longer chased validation. He no longer wasted energy on noise. Every glance, every pause, every unspoken word carried the weight of thunder waiting to strike. The same people who once humiliated him now whispered behind his back, afraid of the man he had become. His silence had turned into a mirror, forcing them to see their own weakness every time they looked at him. Jack had turned silence into a blade. But here's the truth you need to hear. Silence isn't just about intimidating others. Silence is about mastery over yourself. Jack learned that silence gave him control. Control over his emotions, control over his reactions, control over his destiny. Silence stopped him from wasting energy on the meaningless. It forced him to listen, to observe, to plan, while others destroyed themselves with noise. While they were shouting, Jack was moving. While they were arguing, Jack was executing. While they were laughing, Jack was building. And then came the day of reckoning. Jack walked into the same room where he was once humiliated. The same people sat there smirking, waiting to see if he'd fall apart again. But Jack didn't speak. He didn't remind them of the pain they caused. He didn't beg for respect. He didn't even look at them with anger. He simply presented his results, his victories, his empire built in silence. And suddenly the room went quiet. Because silence has a way of spreading. It starts with one person, unshaken, unbothered. And then it infects the entire room, until the only sound left is the sound of your success echoing in the space where their laughter used to be. Jack never had to explain himself again. His silence screamed louder than any words ever could. Jack's story is proof. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Silence is a strategy. It is the art of holding back until the world is forced to acknowledge you. It is the patience to build when nobody's watching. It is the self-control to ignore noise, to turn inward, to sharpen yourself in the dark until you can no longer be ignored. Jack turned silence into power, and so can you. So the next time they provoke you, the next time they laugh at you, the next time they think you've vanished, stay silent. Build in the shadows. Let them believe you're done. Because when you finally return, when silence finally breaks, it won't be with words. It will be with thunder.